2024. Subbing in for our secretary is a member, Ms. Lisa Hall. Ms. Hall, can you please call the roll?
Hale,
Here.
Minton,
Here.
Rosso, absent, Lucero,
Here.
I'm here. We have a quorum.
Very good. Has everybody had a chance to look over the agenda? I know it's a long one.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as stated.
Can we add the Pledge of Allegiance in the agenda?
I mean, should, but it's never been there.
What's that?
The
We
pledge
can.
has never been in it.
It's in
No,
our last
but we
one.
need to do this public hearing.
Right.
Before we do anything, before
Oh.
we move any further, we need to do public hearing.
For this?
Close it. It's the first thing.
Oh. How's that any order? All right,
Usually
you.
that's done after.
that's you.
All right, well then I'll open up the floor before we approve the agenda, because we didn't do that. Usually you approve the agenda first. We'll open up the floor
That's amended.
for public comment.
Well, all right,
That's what you're saying.
It's a public hearing.
it's a public hearing, so you have to
Oh.
open the public, so somebody needs
Oh.
to make a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion, okay. Can I get a motion to open public hearing?
I'll make a motion of the public hearing for Wednesday, June 12th.
Seconded by Mitten.
Second by Minton.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay. Now, you'd like to make a motion to
Well,
amend the agenda?
does everyone speak at the public hearing?
You need to read
I
this.
don't have, what do you got?
We don't have it.
He's got to read this.
That's nice of you.
This is,
Okay, I don't have what you have. That's prior minutes.
yeah. Appointment effective. Yeah, we-
So that you need to read, so the Village of Romeo Zoning Board of Appeals.
Well, that's usually Miss Cindy that does that.
Right, okay, all right. All right, so the Village of Romeo Zoning Board of Appeals is holding a public hearing on June 12th, 2024 at 6:30 PM at the Romeo Community Center, 361 Martin Street, Romeo, Michigan 48065. The applicant at 281 East Lafayette, parcel 280402129013, is seeking a variance request for west perimeter yard setback reduction of 2.26 feet.
All right.
Now you can close it.
Now we can close that. All right, now,
Make a motion.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
make a motion, I'll second the
Thank
motion.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, moving on. Sorry, guys. It's been a long one. All right, so now we're moving on to the approval of the agenda. Mr. Mitten,
I'd like to make a motion to add the Pledge of Allegiance in here.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Mr. Mitten, if you would please lead us.
I certainly will. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
That was that.
You mean the minutes?
Minutes.
Minutes, sorry.
I'll make a
That was
motion to
just the
approve the
approval of the
minutes.
agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January 30th, 2024.
I'll second.
second that.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on to public forum. If there is anybody here that would like to speak on this topic, please come up to the podium. Do we have anybody? Going once, twice.
Want to have Mike speak now?
Is that?
Do you want to have Mike speak now?
Yeah, why not? Let's have him speak now.
Mr. Bomarito?
The applicant, was gonna speak first on what they were looking for, but I can give any input at this point. They're seeking a 2.25 foot on that west side of the property. And I guess I can give a little history there. When I wasn't the inspector that did the original footings inspections on it, my inspector, I had subbing for me, did it, and he's, passed away about 2 weeks ago. When he went and did his footing inspection, he looked to see, where the pins are. It was pinned by a surveyor, and what happens is when they put their offset stakes and they'll put the pins on the footing, everything, looked good. However, the survey iron that the surveyor had used to start with was a wrong survey iron, they found. It was a couple of foot to the west. The proper pin was 2 foot to the east. So to fast forward, I went there to do a detached garage footing inspection. When I arrived on site, I looked, and I'm see now that it's backfill, you can get a better visual than looking down in a hole, and see, because you get an optical. Well, I'm looking right down the side of the edge of that foundation, because it's up now, and I'm seeing the property line to the west, and I said, there's no way that I'm looking at 9 foot's gonna put me into almost to the driveway at 9 foot. So, the crew was on site that was doing the footings for that detached garage. And I told them, something's not right here. So we went and found the iron. And we found the iron that he used to start from. And we measured 52 feet from the east to the west. When I got there, I'm going like into the garage of the house next door. I said, something is totally wrong here. I said, the footings for the garage are gonna work, but we need to get the surveyor out here to figure out what's going on, because either if that property line is 100% right, that means the property to the west could be off a little bit. But we need to know before you could commence any further. So I told him I will not, approve any type of vertical construction. They gotta stop until we try to resolve this. So at that point, the surveyor went out there, and he found that the iron was 2 feet to the east that he should have started from. And that's what's pushing the 2 foot variance request now. The surveyor's in the room if you wanted to come up and maybe educate a little more how it happened, or I could come back again if you need me for further input, but I'm trying to give the history of how this happened. The builder didn't do it maliciously, he just followed in the inspector to go in his defense. He followed an iron that was put there, and it wasn't the builder or the company that put the footings in that, tried to measure. It was pinned. So,
Right, everybody's following
yes,
the wrong pin.
yeah.
So now we're in a situation.
If I could just ask you one other thing, because we didn't
Yes,
do
sir.
this in the beginning.
Yes.
Please just state your name
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
your title.
My name is Michael Bomarito, and I am the building official for Village of Romeo.
Thank you. We have the surveyor here.
Yeah.
If you could please, sir. Please just state your name and company in relation to this.
Yeah, I'm Rich Hodgson, Community Engineering. I did the plot plan for this site. This originally started a number of years ago, and when we did the topo, and it was a difficult site, as some of them can be in Romeo. we actually had a surveyor come in and lay everything out, and then that was maybe 2.5, 3 years ago. So when they called for us to stake the house, I have a new survey crew, and so they had to kind of recreate things on their own when they're there. In the front two corners, there were multiple irons there. The ones that they found were not the correct ones. So there was an issue there, as well as in the back, when the surveyor was out there before, there was a tree on the property corner. So they set an iron 2 feet over, which is what was used. So unfortunately, it kind of shifted the house to the west, and that's how we got from what we wanted to be a 9-foot setback to it's now 6.74, something like that.
Yeah, 6.74.
So in the packet, I had prepared a couple of sketches. The one showed the original, on the original is on the right-hand side, and that was what we thought the interpretation should have been, but with more investigation, it should have been as depicted on the revised plan. So you can see on the neighbor to the west, the garage is like right on the line. So I can kind of understand how my guys made the mistake, because they just thought that maybe the line should not have been right on the garage. So there is a lot of confusing parts to this. In a lot of areas where you have newer subdivisions, you can kind of count on the property corners to be a foot behind the walk. In this case, it's not. So it's just, so I won't bore you with all the details. If there's something else I can answer, I'd be happy to.
Do you have any questions? Do you guys have any questions?
I mean,
The 431 is the correct one, right? The one that's dated 430 with preliminary grade?
Yes.
Okay.
So one other kind of thing that, the house and the garage are in the correct orientation to each other. So the garage ended up further away from the property line on the east side. So that's
now the garage is at, I'm assuming, like 994.
Hmm.
Well, instead of 5, and now it's at 9, it's 7.94.
Yeah, 5 is the set
So it moved
garage
away
setback.
from the house to the east.
It was the minimum, but then we ended up, the whole thing got shifted.
That way.
So the original, it was at 594?
That was at
503,
503.
Sorry, there it is.
the lot lines were kind of skewed from in the back and not so much at the front. So that's why it's kind of, it's more twisted than it is moved, you know?
Yeah,
If that makes any sense.
When I visited the site today, that egress window is almost on the existing driveway.
Yeah, the gravel from the driveway on the neighbors does encroach onto this lot.
Right. So, having that egress window right there, they're almost gonna be walking out of if they're parked there, they almost are gonna be stepping into an egress window. Essentially,
Yeah.
if
and
we grant
We can
this.
put a grate
Yeah, it's
over
gonna
it.
be great over the top of it.
Yeah, but still, this is not very good, unfortunately, it's a mistake that was made, and now we are trying to reverse engineer it with the village by granting a variance. Which to me seems counterintuitive to meeting the standards for a variance.
Does anybody have any other comments or questions for the gentleman? Thank you.
I mean, no, not for the survey, no.
You said,
No, not for the surveyor, no.
all right. Before I close out public comment, I'm going to read a letter from one of the neighbors, Karina Deming and Rob Vogel. I am writing to you as a resident of 275 East Lafayette Street, Romeo, to formally express my opposition to the proposed variance concerning the property setback at 281 East Lafayette, Romeo, parcel ID 28-04-2-129-013. This variance request, which seeks to reduce the required setback distance for the new housing, has raised significant concerns among the community members, including myself. The current setback regulations were established to ensure a harmonious and aesthetically pleasing environment, as well as to maintain privacy, safety, and adequate space between properties. The proposed variance threatens to disrupt this balance by allowing structures that are too close for comfort, potentially leading to the following issues. 1, privacy concerns. Reduced setbacks can lead to a loss of privacy for neighboring properties, as structures may be built significantly closer to property lines. 2, safety risks. Closer proximity of buildings can pose fire hazards and limit access for emergency services. 3, environmental impact. Encroaching on the established setbacks can adversely affect local flora and fauna and disrupt the natural landscape of the area. 4, property value. There is a potential for neighboring property values to decrease due to the altered character of the neighborhood. I urge the Planning Commission, City Council, ZBA, or relevant authority to consider the long-term implications of granting such a variance. The integrity of our community's planning regulations is at stake, and it is crucial that we uphold these standards to preserve the character and safety of our neighborhood. I, along with other concerned residents, am willing to discuss this matter further and participate in any public hearings or meetings related to this variance request. We hope that our voices will be heard and that the community's best interests will be taken into account when making a decision on this matter. Thank you for your attention to this important issue. I look forward to your response and to a resolution that respects the well-being of our community. Sincerely, Karina Deming and Rob Vogel. With that, is there anyone else who would like to speak?
My neighbor unfortunately couldn't come because she's not feeling well.
If you could, ma'am, please.
No, no, she's not here. My neighbor wanted to, but she's
Okay.
couldn't come.
All right. Well, then we will close public comment.
No, can I say something from the building?
Yeah, you're next.
Okay.
So, that being said, now, please. Since
My
we
name
don't
is,
have Ms. LeVar here.
My name is Dominic Guadagnino. I'm with Timberline Homes. I'm the builder. I understand the neighbors' concerns, but I can assure the community the house is not going to bring down the neighborhood in any fashion. I mean, it's a brand-new home in a little bit older community, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. And as far as the window being close to the driveway, I mean, you're still got, what, 5 feet, 6 feet? So from the edge of that window to the driveway, and with the grade on it, I don't think it's gonna be that much of a concern. I mean, if it appeases the board, I can plant a row of bushes right there to, you know, some arborvitaes or something to create a barrier of some sort, so nobody does accidentally step into it. I mean, if that's the board's concern, I mean, I'm more than willing to work to address this issue. And again, you know, it was an honest mistake. There's nothing malicious. Excuse me. Nobody here was trying to sneak anything under the wire. It just, it happened, unfortunately. And I want to work with the community and the neighbors and to, you know, to make this thing happen without potentially ripping the side of the house off.
All right.
So,
Does anybody have any, I'm not gonna murder your last name, so
That's
would
okay.
anybody like to have any questions for the gentleman at the podium? I'll just call you the gentleman, sorry.
It looks like, I'm looking at your, plans here, and I understand this is at somewhat of an angle, but it almost looks like, it appears that 2 feet disappears across this overall span of this, of the plans you've provided us. When we start adding up the measurements, and the measurements change between the original and the revised, the locations of the measurements provided. And I see a gain on the driveway side,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think a span of 30 foot is gonna almost gain you from 9 feet to 6.74. I think when we add across here, I came up with almost 2 feet missing across your measurements here.
So you're saying the math doesn't work out?
Yeah, the math wasn't working out for me, which then, you know, to me, it just kind of starts to become like, why is the math not working out? And it could just be something I'm not seeing, because it's not a full set. I would have scaled them if I had a full set. But
I mean,
with that window, I mean, it's not 5 feet. That window's almost, it sticks out a good 3 feet. So then that gets it further down to 3 feet. That's almost, now you're at 2 feet from the property line. So it's right there. You know, they're stepping out of their car and they're stepping onto a grate of their neighbor's egress window, which I don't think any of us want to
no, I understand, but I mean,
create a scenario.
if I gotta put up a privacy fence right there, you know,
Then, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say something. But if you put a privacy fence up there, then you're narrowing their driveway to an almost impassable, you know.
well, I mean,
I mean, if they've got a truck and the windows are out, or the mirrors are out on both sides, how are they gonna get past the fence and then their house? That doesn't add up.
Yeah, this mistake is a mistake, and I can agree, I can see how this could happen, but I can't see how this becomes the neighbor's problem now. Essentially, it's gonna turn into her issue, when unfortunately it's a mistake, and we're in construction, and I hate this kind of mistake, but it's almost a builder's risk mistake, and then if your insurance isn't gonna cover it, then it's gonna come from you, right? Essentially, the builder would have to correct it.
yes,
I mean, I know in my contracting, if we make this mistake, that's our 2 options. Insurance is paying for it, or I'm paying for it. And I'm sympathetic to that, but at the same token, this can't become we let it happen for Timberline Homes, and then the next person maybe semi-maliciously does it.
Yeah, there's a precedent that will be set, that we also have to think about, not just this. Every meeting we have, we always have to take into account the precedent that is set. Mr. Min raised a lot of issues that I think a lot of us have had in our talks about this. For me, it's the egress as well. We've talked about that, where you're stepping out right into it. And I get it, if you put up some arborvitaes, you might have some threshold, but now you're just talking about a pendulum to swing somebody into that too. So, I don't know the fix around that. It is an unfortunate situation, I will say that. And I get that there were multiple pins, and, being a former builder, and, the old adage comes to mind, the measure twice, cut once. How many times, I didn't hear the surveyor say, what they did in order to try and nail down, just that they went off of what they perceived to possibly be the right one. And for me, I don't know if that floats either. At the end of the day, someone's gonna be left holding the bag, and I would rather it not be the village, because if we make this decision, like Mr. Minton said, we stand the chance of having multiple people come in who might do it maliciously based on the precedent that's set. Now, we also have to take into account opposition from neighbors as well. The only countering point I would say is that I understand your property is non-conforming. The majority of the properties in the village are non-conforming,
Yeah,
especially on that side of town. So as where I do see valid concerns, at the same time, we're trying to shoehorn things in nowadays, and almost every property needs a variance if we're going to move forward in building either vacant properties or updating properties. But as I was saying, it's still, there's an issue here that things were done wrong, and through multiple levels, it just fell through the cracks, and that's my issue that I'm kind of struggling with right now on whether or not this is a hardship or a created one. Because at the end of the day, if it's not us, then it's the surveyor, and that's something that you guys have to go together to figure out how that gets rectified as well. I mean, you listed the two options. There's also a third one there that no one likes to talk about. Mr. Hale?
Lisa, do you have something you want to go first? You good? You want to say anything for me?
I really don't like the egress window, that really,
Yeah, I think all of us kind of don't like that.
that concerns me.
What about the egress?
yeah, I was gonna say if we swing it around the back,
The egress window is like 3 feet away from the property line as well.
But you're still way too close to my property line, it doesn't matter,
That's why we're here.
you know, yeah,
Agreed.
okay.
So I guess my 2 cents, just to say the things out loud, the village did approve the footing on this building. And then after the walls were up, coming out for something separate, they caught the issue. So the village approved the footings where they sit. To me, I mean, that, and I'm not trying to say one way or the other, but that does make a specific issue with the structure that was approved.
Correct, the structure was approved based off of the survey.
Right.
So
Walls
the
off of the
survey is
plans.
responsible
Absolutely.
by the
It
builder.
all comes back down to
Right.
that.
So you can't.
At footing, it could have been caught.
So it's not, but it's not Bomarito's, it's not their job to re-survey,
No, it's not.
re-engineer the survey while they're standing out there. They just go off of, okay, there's the marks, there's the stakes.
Yeah.
The stake puts the offset correctly, and then but the survey's wrong, so it doesn't really land on, we approved the footing, because of course we approved the footing, because we had the information we had. You know, it's a snowball going down the hill.
I get it.
It's just getting bigger, so I don't see where the village really is at fault here, or our inspectors, because they're going off of the information they're given. Now, could better staking been done? Could maybe GPS been brought in? I don't know. For surveying, to make it a little, more specific. I mean, it's everywhere. On every site, to be exactly precise, I use it all the time for staking light poles. I don't rely on anything other than that, really. If we're looking for irons that are in the ground in a village that's as old as it is, I mean, then we're in situations like this, correct?
Mhm.
Any other comment from
No.
Dave? All right. Any other discussion amongst ourselves? Anyone? Any other points you guys want to bring up? Nothing?
So, I just have a question, because I was thinking about some stuff down the road, of possibly putting a fence in. So, now, because her driveway is so close to my property, so I won't, even if the house was hypothetically in the right location, so I would never be allowed to put a fence in because that would be too tight to her driveway?
You'd have to come here for a
Well,
variance.
Yeah.
No, that's not been changed yet.
No,
No, the driveway impact has not been changed. You can put it right on the line.
Okay, there you go.
right now you would,
Right
be
now, you can
okay.
put it on the line.
So if I put the fence up right now and left the house, then, but that would be in violation.
The fence can go on the line. It just can't go, I mean, you have to stay past the front of the house.
Right,
But you can go right down the line.
okay. Very good, thank you.
So where's the fence gonna go?
Well, I was gonna go on the property, and then, because I was gonna use certain sections of privacy fence and landscape to provide, because it's such a small lot and everything is so close, to provide some privacy to help sell the house, on both sides. That was my
So
intent.
it's gonna go right by my driveway or where?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was gonna start, somewhere over there.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Okay.
the time for public comment is over. I'm sorry. He is within his right, per the ordinances, to put a privacy fence right down the property line, even if it is seemingly on top of your driveway, as long as it does not go past the front of his house. So with that being said, and that's being addressed, there is no more public comment. We're not seeking any more comment, and at this point, we're going to move this to a vote. Can I get a motion for a vote?
I'll make a motion to not approve the variance.
Do we have a second? I'll second it. Ms. Hall, can you please
Yes.
do a roll call?
Mr. Minton,
No. No, I'm sorry, yes.
you mean
Yes.
yes?
Yes.
Mr. Lucero,
Yes.
Mr. Hale,
No.
I'm a yes. Motion carries.
All right. With that said, before we adjourn, I'd just like to put something on the record. I'm asking, actually, I'm pleading with the Village Board of Trustees to do their job. Part of their job requires them to periodically review ordinances and amend them when and if needed. While researching this issue, a lot of municipalities have fee schedules. If you violate an ordinance, fines are assessed. We have none of that here in the village. We have no way of policing ordinances and code enforcement. It just is non-existent. And it is incumbent upon the Board of Trustees to do something about it, because this board is rendered ineffective. We are impotent in our rulings. It does not matter what we say. If someone wants to do what they do, then they can just do whatever, and then it's upon the village to go after the individual, the violating individual, through court, which is going to take anywhere from 6 months to a couple of years. So I am asking the board to do their jobs and review the ordinances and fix the ordinances that have been defunct for decades, so that we, not just this board, not just this committee, but all of the committees can actually effectively do their jobs. And that's all I have to say about this issue. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.